This podcast is proud to be part of the talkSPORT Fan Network. talkSPORT. Powered by fans.
Head over to Hulu this March, where our new shows and movies will keep you streaming all month long. Catch the acclaimed movie All of Us Strangers, starring Paul Mescal and Andrew Scott. Stream the new Hulu original limited series We Were the Lucky Ones with Joey King and Logan Lerman. And don't forget about Grey's Anatomy. Every Grey's episode ever is now streaming on Hulu. So, what are you waiting for? Go stream something new on Hulu.
The talkSPORT Fan Network is proudly supported by McDelivery, bringing you the food you love. McDelivery brings a top-tier lineup of food right to your door. No matter the result, you'll always be winning with McDelivery. Order now on the McDonald's app and you'll get rewards points delivered too. So that ordering today means some tasty rewards for tomorrow. Only via app at participating restaurants. 18 plus. Rewards registration required. Points only on menu items. Delivery fee and terms apply. See mcdonalds.com.
This podcast is proud to be part of the talkSPORT Fan Network. talkSPORT. Powered by fans.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of The Away End. I'm Craig Courtney and I'm joined this evening by Nathan Rayner from the Boropolis podcast. So Nathan, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Tell us a little bit about yourselves and what your podcast is all about.
Yeah, so obviously Middlesbrough fan group, Boropolis, mainly on Twitter. We do have an Instagram as well. But yeah, we've been going as a podcast for 3 seasons now. And yeah, just covering everything Middlesbrough, usually one podcast a week. If it's a midweek game as well, we'll do a longer podcast on a Sunday, and yeah, just cover everything that is to do with Middlesbrough Football Club.
And how do you find it? I mean, we've been going for 13 years now, so bit of a difference in terms of that. But absolutely love the interaction and that we're getting, especially this season with we try and do each group and each team that we're playing against. So this has been great for us. But how do you find it yourself in terms of the podcasting?
Yeah, I find it really enjoyable, to be fair. At first, it was a little bit difficult to try and get out what I wanted to say and not try and censor myself too much, but not go too over the top at the same time. But yeah, I try not to lose my mind too much following the football club. But yeah, it's really enjoyable and it's just nice to have a little bit of a routine in the week. You know, I'm coming on the podcast every Sunday and get to talk about the football club and vent, usually, more than anything.
Guys, saying so similar to ourselves. I mean, we do a live show on every Monday, which goes out on Facebook and YouTube. But also, obviously, all of the shows are on podcasts and we're part of the fans network as well, so it's pretty cool, and we do enjoy it. Group of us now that go through it, and it's it's good. We got some involvement with the club as well, so we're doing little bits for them in terms of just attendances at different types of meetings and groups that they're setting up. But it's great to be involved. So Tuesday night, our rearranged game down at St Andrews at Knighthead Park. Looking forward to the game. I was going to say, from a Birmingham perspective, it is huge now. Since the recruitment at the time of Wayne Rooney, we've gone into such a predicament and a downward spiral. And obviously, Tony Mowbray coming in, who I know we'll talk a little bit about in a wee while, but with him coming through the door, it's also just a shame that he's there for a couple of games and then we unfortunately lose him to his illness, of which I know from reports things seem to be going very positively. So hoping to see him back in the dugout very, very soon. So, I mean, Birmingham's record against Middlesbrough is not pretty at all. So the last 5 games, we've lost 4 of them. and only won the other. So there's a bit of a reputation there of no draws. And I think going back over the history, there wasn't many actually between us at all. So should be an interesting game. What are your thoughts going into it? Obviously yourselves as well. You started off so well. Your League Cup semi-final as well, of which I was quite optimistic when I was looking at it, and you were going down to Chelsea. I thought, you know what, you're still in this game. I don't think I've seen Chelsea play that well at all this season. So it was a tough night for you guys. And especially as I think, if I remember rightly, the goal scorer, the last one, wasn't he sold to our rivals on the other side of Birmingham. So although you made a pretty packet out of it, so I was quite impressed. But yeah, tell us what your thoughts are ahead of the game.
Yeah, it's a bit of a strange one. Over the last couple of weeks, it's been all doom and gloom at the football club, if I'm honest. It's been a very strange one on the pitch and off the pitch. The club announced season ticket renewals, an early bird sort of scheme a couple of weeks ago now, and the prices were hiked up again for the fourth season in a row to what would have been the second highest season ticket price in the division of current. So it was meltdown on social media, but it has since been sort of resolved amongst a lot of fan groups, supporters forums at the football club that have sat with the chairman and the board of directors. That's been sort of quashed now, I suppose, but it's still very fresh in the minds of Borough fans, and especially seeing us and our performances of late. It hasn't been the best. Up until the last week, our previous 9 games in 2024, we'd won 2, drawn 2, and lost 5. And last week, we'd found ourselves just 6 points above the bottom 3, and very much in that pack of teams.
Indeed.
Which, yeah, I didn't want to be involved in at all. And in all honesty, I couldn't foresee this week happening, really, in terms of our results. Obviously, this week we've played Norwich City on Wednesday, and we won the game. For the opening 20-25 minutes, we were very, very much under the cosh. Norwich were absolutely piling it on us. They went 1-0 up, and then they received a red card. Borja Sainz got sent off.
Didn't they?
Yeah, got sent off for an incident in which it looked from my angle in the stadium that he'd sort of kicked out at Johnny Howson. But upon seeing it on a couple of replays, it looks like it was a little bit fortuitous that it's fallen in our favour. And Sainz did since have his card rescinded. So yeah,
you've been on the end of a positive appeal from a EFL perspective, then, because we are just constantly just feel as though we're fighting against 12 men at the moment, because for the past 3 games we have seen some absolute shocking decisions. The Ryan Shotton red card. From one angle, I understand where they're coming from. From the other angle, no, it's a block tackle, yellow at the most. We've seen a penalty decision against Southampton that just was waved by, and then when you look back, it's like, never touched a ball, just took the player out. And then the weekend against Millwall, again, we saw some shocking officiating. But going into to that game, as I say, with this one on Tuesday night, the one thing is I can't see Birmingham unfortunately keeping a clean sheet. And we're up against it from the very outset when it comes to that. So it should be a good one. The players have come out and spoken around how they're fighting and they want to be passionate going into the game. Interesting to hear some articles that Alex Pritchard has been very much at the forefront of G'ing up the players and things like that as we go into these final games as well. Pritchard being arch enemy of Middlesbrough in effect. So I know you guys will probably want to do one over for him as well. But no, it's going to be an interesting one. You know, we can't afford to lose it as a game in hand. You know, you guys want to continue to stretch away from it. But it's fair to say, when you look at the bottom of that league, and this afternoon, you know, just before recording this, you know, Birmingham were actually in the bottom three because Huddersfield were beating West Brom at one point. I didn't think I would see that this season. It's rather worrying that we are, but luckily our neighbours did us a favour. So yeah, we go into like I say, a tough game Tuesday evening. But we have had quite a few links, you know, between the teams over the years. Some fantastic players for both clubs actually, and I think you know, some of the names really stand out. But the one for me, when I think about all the players, well, I actually say the one. There's two in particular. Obviously, Stuart Parnaby. You know, he turned out for both clubs and he was great for both of us. But the one that continues to be there actually at Birmingham is Lucas Jukovic. So, you know, I know he was a great performer whilst he was at Borough. But other names that have been linked, you know, Adam Clayton, he came to the club with a little bit of a, you know, oh, he is superb. He's really going to stand out. He's really going to take you forwards. And he never took off at Birmingham at all. In fact, you know, he come into the team and he played a couple and then was on and off the bench before going out on loan. We had good old biggest softy in the world, George Friend. I mean, what a nice guy he was when he was at Birmingham, and I had the opportunity to speak to him a couple of occasions. And he's just so nice, so polite, and was open to anyone. And I know he was a firm fans' favourite, wasn't he, at Middlesbrough as well?
Yeah, absolutely top man, George Friend. Him and Adam Clayton both were in the side, one of the best sides I've seen as a young Middlesbrough fan. In my sort of time watching us, that got promoted from the Championship in 2015-16. George Friend was in the Championship team of the season that year, and he was just, one of those that was a constant 7 or 8 out of 10, just top notch in the Championship. But one thing that always sort of stood out to me about the moving of players on at Middlesbrough, we all sort of viewed Friend and Clayton going as the right time to let them go, because it looked to us that they were sort of losing the legs. And then they rocked up at Birmingham, were given 2 or 3 year contracts, and you had to deal with the burden of that. But in terms of George Friend, obviously he was there up until last season, came on in the game at St Andrews last year, and the Borough fans, I was in the away end that day, was singing his name, and then all of a sudden he set Matt Crooks away and put us 2 to the good. So it was very, very pleasing from George on that occasion. But as you mentioned, he's a top bloke, both on and off the pitch. Always gives his all for the team. And he's retired now, isn't he? And the director.
He's got a new position down in Bristol. Yeah, he's got a nice little job. I think he's just took on as well. So other people though that have been linked. We mentioned Ryan Shotman, his red card the other day, but obviously he was at Borough as well. Emilio and Sue was another signing that we had. Steve Vickers, you know, these guys. Yeah. We seem to love your defenders, shall we say? But I think that comes because they're no nonsense type of players that we love, you know, to see at Birmingham. Jonathan Grounds as well, in his early days, turned out for yourselves and was a stalwart for Birmingham when he came. We've had players that have gone the opposite way though. So I suppose one most recent, Riley McGree. He was absolutely great for us when he was on loan, and I'd have loved to have signed him permanently, but obviously with the financial situation at the club, it wasn't viable. And then Borough did sign him, and I think from what I've seen, he's been a bit up and down for yourselves, and he does, when he wants to turn it on, he can do. I know he does score the odd few wonder goals. I mean, we saw some great ones at St Andrews, but his set-up play was what stood out the most for us. But how's it, you know, I'll be honest, I haven't heard his name too much recently. So is he still in and out of the side, or how's it working for him?
Yeah, bit of a strange one. Last season, he was a mainstay in the side. In the way that we played last year with 4-2-3-1, we had a left back, Giles, who's now at Hull, who used to bomb further up the pitch, which McGree would then sort of move in field and plays a player in the pockets, and was outstanding in that role. Really, obviously didn't get all the plaudits because we had Chuba Akpom, who was the top goal scorer in the division, and Cameron Archer banging in the goals as well. But yeah, was a mainstay in the side last season. And then moving into this season, obviously we moved on a lot of players that we'd had on loan had gone back to parent clubs and then signed for sides in the Premier League.
Yeah.
And we all sort of assumed that McGree would be the player to sort of step up in that role, as chipping in with a lot more goals, a lot more assists, contributing going forward that way. And at the start of the season, we had a little bit of a funny run where we were in the relegation zone for quite a long period of time, actually, about 8 games. And McGree was sort of dropped to the bench for a long period of time. And then we started winning a couple of games. We won 8 games on the spin in all competitions throughout the end of September and October. And we were going to play Sunderland away in the middle of that run, which is our little sort of derby that's not a derby game. And yeah, McGree suffered an injury in the build-up to the game, and we didn't see him for 3 months up until Boxing Day. And then with Boxing Day and January around the corner, the Asia Cup, which Australia were a part of, happened. So he then left and went to the Asia Cup for a month, and he's been back in the side since February. And with the run of games and performances being...
Picture the scene. All of your mates around, you've got your McNugget share boxes ready to go. Partner this with your team playing champagne football. Perfect. Order McDelivery now on the McDonald's app. There's nothing quite like a McDelivery. At participating restaurants, 18 plus, serving times, delivery fee and terms apply. See mcdonalds.com.
Relatively poor. We've turned it around this week with wins over Norwich and QPR, and that's came with Carrick changing system. We've gone to a back 5 with 2 in midfield and then a front 3, which McGree's very much a part of. It's Riley McGree picking up pockets, usually off that left-hand side of the 3. And he's usually in behind Marcus Force and Emmanuel Latte-Lath, who've both scored 2 in the last 2 games. Yeah. So yes, he's now found his way back into the side, which a lot of Borough fans are very happy about, really, because he is probably at this current moment in time the most technically gifted player at the football club.
And obviously, you mentioned there January, and obviously that was to do with the Asia Cup. You did do a little bit of business, I think, selling your star player to our local rivals. I mean, firstly, congratulations to him on his move into the Premier League, and congratulations to you for fleecing a Premier League's club after you signed him for not that much in the summer and made an absolute fortune. But how much of the downturn in, performances do you think was initially down to that?
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure if I can put a whole lot on it, because weirdly enough, Morgan Rogers was signed for £1 million in the summer from Man City. They had a big sell-on clause in his contract coming to Middlesbrough, but sold him for £15 million off the back of him being the top scorer in the Carabao Cup, in which we'd played a couple of games against Huddersfield, Bolton, Bradford, Exeter, Port Vale. So as you can see there, a lot of League One sides in that run, which obviously you have to beat what's put in front of you. But he stood out more in the games against the League One sides than he did in Championship action. Now, weirdly enough, we signed a player from Aston Villa who was on loan from Plymouth, on loan at Plymouth, sorry, in Finn Azaz at the start of January, a couple of days in to the window. And then to see it come up midway through January that Villa wanted Rodgers and he had 3.5 years left on his deal, I just thought, try and get as much money as you possibly can from this lot.
Yeah.
And we'll reinvest or hopefully sign a striker and we can really make a push for the playoffs. We were 3 points off the playoffs going into January, and the club didn't sign a centre forward, let Rodgers go and let Matt Crooks go, who's obviously, you'll know from, he set Rodgers up in the game at our place earlier on in the season and scored the 2 goals last season. So both of those guys left. And really, the sort of story of our season is it's been stop-start, and a lot of that has been down to injuries. At one point in December, we had 15 first-team players out injured, and it wasn't just for like a couple of weeks. It was, these are going to be three or 4 weeks, if not longer. And we did really struggle, obviously, throughout December and January with the Saturday, Tuesday, the Christmas fixtures that are coming every couple of days. Right. We really struggled to rotate the squad. You were looking at benching games and just seeing under 23 players. It was really, really difficult to see the same boys go out every week and try and put their all in, but there was just nothing left in the tank for them. And the injuries have continued on into January and February, and we've really struggled, but changing system now to a back five has sort of really helped us out, I suppose. We've just decided to sort of go away from what Carrick usually wants to do, which is beat teams with possession. And we've decided to give up the ball a little bit more and spring very quickly on the counter-attack, which works quite well for us because we've won the last 2 games, which is very nice.
I wish we could say that. So I mean, the other link, we've mentioned some of the players, but the other big link, obviously, to the club is Tony Mowbray, who, you know, we continue to say get well soon, boss, and we know you're on the mend, so it's very, very positive. But what do you recall from his time there? And also, you've mentioned Carrick, but now that you've seen what he's done inside and the league cup run especially, do you think he's the manager to get you back to the Premier League, or is he at the moment now looking at you start seeing his weaknesses?
Yeah, I think with Carrick, you've seen certain aspects of his style where you think, this is the man to take us forward. Obviously, last season, we had a lot of players that have gone on to the top level now in the Premier League. Rightfully so. They were outstanding for us last season, got us into the playoffs. He had a really good squad to work with last season. This season, a little bit different. We signed 12 players in the summer. It was like a massive rebuild for the football club, signing younger players, moving quite a lot of the older players out. Mm-hmm. And it's been bedding in young players to the country in some scenarios, the style that we want to play. And it has been difficult with injuries, as mentioned. We have been sort of caught out in a lot of games, but he hasn't been stubborn. He has changed his system in certain games. Obviously, we played Chelsea and Villa in January, and we gave a good account of ourselves in both of those games at home. Obviously, the Chelsea away game, a little bit naive to go there and try and play out the way that we usually do in the Championship. It was naive, and we did obviously get a massive tonk in there, and it could have been 7, 8, 9, if I'm honest.
You did come up against a phenomenal Chelsea side that night, though, and everything that they touched. I remember watching the game, and everything they touched seemed to turn to goal. So it was, I first of all, I thought the Borough fans were absolutely superb. they kept behind that team throughout, and it did make me laugh when you scored but didn't score towards the end, because the celebrations were as though you'd won it, sort of thing, which was great. And that's what I like about the cup. We've had the experience of getting through to semi-finals and finals, so I know exactly how you were kind of feeling, especially when you were up against the teams that you arguably don't think you'd stick a chance against. But going into Tuesday night, then, you've mentioned a few of the players there, but who should we be watching out for, and what's your prediction for the game?
Well, I think it's always difficult for Middlesbrough up against sides managed by Tony Mowbray. Obviously, he's not going to be in the dugout on Tuesday night, but we do notoriously struggle against his sides. Up until this season, we went to Sunderland and beat them 4-0, which was very nice. Yeah, few renditions of Tony Mowbray as a Red. He hates Sunderland. But yeah, top man Tony Mowbray, love him. He's my dad's hero. When he was here as a manager, it was a very difficult time. We'd just sort of come down from the Premier League. Gordon Strachan was given the job, spent a load of money. We tried to go. It failed. Signed a load of dross from Scotland on big contracts. Had to keep them round. And Mowbray was the fall guy for that, unfortunately. But yeah, he'll always hold a special place in the heart of Borough fans. But yeah, as said, we usually struggle against his sides. And I always feel when we play Birmingham away from home that we're going to be in for a tricky evening. As you mentioned, though, the results have gone in our favour the last couple of times that we've been down there. In terms of players to watch out for, think the front two are going to be important for us. As mentioned, they've both scored 2 in the last 2 games, which is very pleasing, because we've had a couple of weeks recently where we've actually been playing without a recognised striker. But these guys have come back into the side in the last week, and yeah, they've been influential in getting us a couple of wins on the board. But yeah, the main guy, the main guy and the heartbeat of this Middlesbrough side, which is still outstanding to say at his age of 35, I think he is Johnny Howson. He's the midfield maestro, captain fantastic, and he'd been missing from the side during our sort of barren spell throughout February. Came back into the side last Wednesday against Norwich and was probably our standout player, and just makes us tick completely. Yeah, he's a strange player in the sense of he just gets better with age, and I wish you could put him in a time machine and put him back a couple of years. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be a decent game. Obviously, a lot of pressure rides on the game for you guys, I think. Obviously, being down there, and it's your game in hand on all the sides in and around you. But I think if you can, I know it's sort of cliche to say, but whoever gets the first goal in the game, it's massively important, and it probably will decide the result.
So what's your prediction on the score then? Go on, it's always the toughest part, and I'm yet to do one of these where the person that I'm talking to picks against their own team. So I'm expecting a Borough win, but go on, give me a scoreline.
Yeah, so strangely enough, in the last week when we played Norwich and QPR, I predicted both defeats for us, but obviously we turned it round. I'll say Birmingham 1, Middlesbrough 2. I think we might sneak it just. I think Sanderson's a big miss for you guys at the back, right. I think. So yeah, I think we might sneak it. I think we'll hopefully be resolute in the game with our back five, and hopefully we've got a lad back who's a winger, Isaiah Jones, who did play wing back in his early days at Borough under Chris Wilder, and he could make an impact off the bench playing off that right hand side. So yeah, 2-1 Borough. What are you thinking, Craig? Are you optimistic or not too much?
I'll always back Birmingham. The one thing I will say is, we do struggle to keep clean sheets. So I think there'll be goals in the game. We have got to go out and we have got to get a result. The simple thing is, it's the game in hand. It can take us that little step away from the bottom areas. Doesn't take us completely out of trouble though. So it's going to be tight. I mean, when I've looked back over the games, we haven't seen huge amounts of goals. So I don't think it's going to be a high scoring game. I'll actually do the reversal of your prediction. I think if we're going to do it, it's going to be 2-1 to Birmingham. I just fancy your ex-player to come good, and I'm hoping that on Tuesday we do see him start in Djukovic, because I think there is, first of all, as he showed against Hull, there is no better person when you put a ball onto his head. And after the weekend, hearing that Pritchard went into the dressing room and was gave the talk to the players, I think he's going to be more up for it than ever. And with somebody as dangerous as him out on the wing and putting a ball in, we just need the Duke there to put it away. So I'm going to go with a 2-1 to Birmingham. But as I always say, the best team will win. But you're right in terms of that first goal as well. It is notorious for the first goal. However, saying that, we scored first against Southampton and still lost 4-3. So it literally depends on the evening. So thank you very much for joining us and running through this. It's been a good insight again to what our opposition fans actually think. Looking forward to a great game on Tuesday night. Are you coming down to Birmingham?
I'm not actually. I did it last season, and I'm trying to tick off a lot of grounds in the 92, and I've done 20 of the championship teams. But we've got Southampton in a couple of weeks, and my money's best spent going down there instead of taking that
hell of a journey for you guys. That is. So that's hike. A very early start, yeah. Or you stopping overnight? It'll be one of those two.
Yeah, it's a proper hike. Thought about flying down as well, to be fair. But yeah, I'm just training it instead. But yeah, major hike down there. But yeah, best of luck, you guys. I do hope that you guys stay up, actually. Especially when I look at some of the other sides down there. I can't bear a few, if I'm honest. I won't name names.
But no, thank you very much for joining us again. I always sign off by saying thank you and keep right on. Good luck, but not on Tuesday. Cheers.
Away days are great, but there's nothing quite like playing at home. The same goes for McDonald's. Maximise your home ground advantage with McDelivery. Order now on the McDonald's app. At participating restaurants, 18 plus, serving times, delivery fee and terms apply. See mcdonalds.com.
This podcast is proud to be part of the talkSPORT Fan Network. talkSPORT. Powered by fans.